Welcome to MPUNGWE-PUNGWE YouTube channel. Subscribe for you to enjoy more of our videos anytime we upload.
Thank you so much, Right Honorable Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I feel greatly privileged this afternoon to respond to the 2026-2027 budget ably presented by the Honorable Minister of Finance, Economic Planning and Decentralization, the man I esteem and sincerely congratulate on his appointment as our Chancellor of Exchequer. Mr. Speaker, sir, I humbly carry out this responsibility on behalf of the mighty MPUNGWE Congress Party, the founding party of our nation, and I do this with immense gratitude to His Excellency Dr. Lazarus Maikathia Chakwera, the President of our party and the 6th President of our nation, for appointing me, among many other capable colleagues, as the party spokesperson on finance, economic planning, and decentralization. I also feel greatly indebted to the Right Honorable Leader of Opposition for his trust and confidence in me. Mr. Speaker, sir, I must acknowledge the fact that the responsibility that I have this afternoon is quite heavy. Heavy in the sense that I will be speaking for the party that was recently in power. And I remember when the current Minister of Finance stood on this podium, I think in 2020, as finance spokesperson of the then main opposition DPP, and responded to Honorable Musu's first budget. The sentiments from us who were in the government backbenches then were, you should have done what you are talking about. It is very normal, Mr. Speaker, sir, if others would have the same sentiments this afternoon. However, Mr. Speaker, sir, I believe that our benchmark as a nation must never be yesterday's performance. Our benchmark must be our potential as a country. Mr. Speaker, sir, trend analysis of the macroeconomic fundamentals reveal that the indicators began to head south from 2019-2020 fiscal year. It was in the 2019-2020 fiscal year that we saw our GDP growth rate plummet from 5.7% to 0.8%. It was in the same fiscal year, I think just before the fresh presidential elections, that we began to borrow non-concessional loans externally at exorbitant commercial rates to fuel the fast dwindling forex reserves. As COVID continued to ravage both our lives and our economy, the economy literally came to a halt. Most businesses, Mr. Speaker, are closed. And I remember even church services were being held virtually. Jobs were lost, incomes dropped, and consequently government revenues dipped and borrowing became inevitable to keep the operation services going. Geopolitical conflicts, namely the Russia-Ukraine war, just as we now have the Iran war, which we must keep an eye on, disrupted the supply chains adversely, affecting our economy, and so did the climatic shocks and yearly cyclones. Mr. Speaker, sir, despite the fact that my party is now in opposition, I do not stand here and respond to the new government's first full budget from a place of bitterness, but from a place of patriotism. For some of us, there is only one flag that matters and takes preeminence over all others, the one with the rising sun, and it is our feeling that this sun has stayed long at sunrise since 1964. It's high time it moved on to a greater and brighter day. We must therefore begin to have an honest conversation about our economic trajectory of our country, because as long as GDP growth rate remains below 6%, we should forget about graduating into a middle-income country. So we will commend the leadership where they are doing well with sincerity. We will also constructively criticize where we need to do better as an economy from a place of patriotism, and we will give recommendations as compatriots hoping for a better future as we move towards 2063. Mr. Speaker, sir, let me begin by acknowledging that Malawi stands at a critical economic juncture. Our country remains in a phase of macroeconomic instability characterized by high inflation, exchange rate pressures, food insecurity, and an unsustainable public debt. The Honorable Minister has presented a confident narrative of recovery. Of course, leadership demands optimism, and confidence can indeed build trust. Yet public policy must balance ambition with realism. It is in that spirit that we raise serious concerns regarding the realism financing framework, debt sustainability, and tax burden being placed on Malawians. Macroeconomic context, optimism versus reality. The Honorable Minister projects that GDP growth is at 3.8%, and of course, the fiscalized growth, GDP growth is at 4.1%, which is the average for this year and 2027. Inflation declining to 15%, fiscal deficit reduced to 9% of GDP, nominal GDP of 31.5 trillion. However, the current macroeconomic landscape suggests caution. Inflation remains elevated at 28.5% in 2025. Broad money growth stands at 38%. Trade deficit is approximately $2 billion US. Public debt has reached 23.9 trillion. Mr. Speaker, sir, inflation cannot sustainably decline while money supply growth remains excessive and fiscal deficits remain large. Stability cannot be projected without addressing structural imbalances in fiscal operations, monetary expansion, and external sector. Overall assessment. Mr. Speaker, sir, this budget is bold in numbers, but fragile in financing. It rests on aggressive revenue assumptions, optimistic grant inflows, continued heavy domestic borrowing, high interest payments. The external sector remains the binding constraint. Without sustained export growth, the current account deficit will persist. Exchange rate pressure will continue. Inflation will remain vulnerable. Monetary policy will stay tight. Growth recovery will be fragile. Exchange rate pressure will persist, and yet devaluing the currency without fiscal discipline has historically undermined stability. Exchange rate reforms must therefore be accompanied by fiscal restraint. Appropriate policy sequencing is very critical in this case. We, however, take note, Mr. Speaker, sir, of the commendable efforts that the Honorable Minister of Finance, Economic Planning and Decentralization is taking, particularly on fiscal consolidation, trying to reduce the fiscal deficit, and attempts on debt restructuring, fiscal discipline, and austerity measures. We want to commend him from this side. And you know, Mr. Speaker, when the commendation comes from this left side of the aisle, you know that the commendation is out of sincerity. We want to sincerely commend him. Overly ambitious revenue projections. Mr. Speaker, sir, government projects revenue and grants of 8.1 trillion, representing 48.8% increase. Domestic revenue alone is projected to rise by 44%. We must ask, is the economy growing at 44%? Has productivity surged at comparable rates? If not, such revenue growth can only come from aggressive taxation or exceptional administrative efficiency, yet proposed measures rely heavily on VAT adjustments, pay increases, transaction levies, and high user fees. This amounts to increased tax pressure on an already strained economy where households face high food prices, high borrowing costs, and declining real incomes. Such strategy risks suffocating private sector recovery. Rising dependence on grants. Mr. Speaker, sir, grants are projected to increase by 70% to 1.6 trillion. Yet global official development assistance is tightening, and Malawi remains in debt distress. If disbursements fall short, the financing gap widens. Domestic borrowing increases, monetary accommodation pressures intensify. Exchange rate and inflation risks rise. The realism of these grant projections must therefore be scrutinized. Heavy reliance on domestic borrowing. The projected deficit stands at 2.8 trillion, 9% of the GDP, with limited concession external financing. Most of this deficit will be financed domestically. Interest payments alone amount to 2.7 trillion, nearly equal to the deficit. Statutory expenditure absorbs 80 to 90% of domestic revenue. This implies we are largely borrowing to service borrowing. This is not fiscal consolidation, it is a debt spiral. Expenditures structure, consumption over transformation. Mr. Speaker, sir, total expenditure is at 10.9 trillion, dominated by debt interest at 2.7 trillion, wages 1.9 trillion, and pensions and gratuities 296 billion. While development expenditure has risen to 30.9%, which is commendable, a significant share is foreign finance. Delays in disbursements could stall projects and perpetuate instability, linking the budget to the external sector. Mr. Speaker, sir, this budget must be assessed against Malawi's external constraints. Recent realities include trade deficit of $2 billion US. Historically, low import cover, kwacha depreciation due to excess forex demand and broad money growth at 38%. The critical question is, does this budget materially improve the foreign exchange position? At present, Mr. Speaker, sir, the answer is uncertain. Automatic pricing mechanism, otherwise known as APM. The resuscitated APM ensures transparency and fiscal prudence. However, in an import-dependent economy, which is structurally weak, currency exchange rate changes are largely unidirectional, meaning that we tend to depreciate the currency. This feeds into fuel prices. Fuel prices transmit into transport and food inflation. Inflation sensitivity increases. Geopolitical tensions, as is the case now with the Iran war or so, do not support short-term to medium-term decreases in global oil prices. The price stabilization fund could be in negatives. This means that we should ordinarily expect an ending upward adjustment to fuel prices. Without structural external reforms, the APM will often result in upward price adjustments. Achieving 15% inflation under such conditions appears extremely ambitious. Mining and export prospects. The restart of Kairegera uranium mine, which was commissioned by the former president, His Excellency Dr. Lazarus Chakwera in 2021, is promising. Mining can improve forex inflows, narrow trade deficits, and stabilize reserves. However, export proceeds must be repatriated. Transfer pricing must be controlled. Royal administration must be strengthened. Rules are only as effective as their enforcement, Mr. Speaker, sir. Inconsistent and punitive tax measures. Malawians are groaning under heavy taxes, and they are afraid, Mr. Speaker, sir, this administration may soon introduce a levy on the oxygen we breathe in. In fact, it's already rumored, Mr. Speaker, sir, that all those that have degrees will now be paying taxes or levies on their degrees every year. Of course, that's just a rumor. And another rumor has it that anyone who intends to get married will have to be paying taxes on the dowry. I don't know how true that rumor is, but Malawians are groaning under heavy taxes, Mr. Speaker, sir. It's as if the Honorable Minister of Finance is a disciple of King Rehoboam. So in the Bible, you find the story of King Rehoboam. King Solomon's son and successor, who made the tax burden over the nation of Israel unbearable. And just like the young king in 1 Kings chapter 12, verse 11, had the audacity to tell the Israelites that while my father placed a heavy tax burden on you, I will make the burden even heavier. While my father scourged you with a whip, I will scourge you with scorpions. The Honorable Minister of Finance seems to be telling Malawians that while President Chakwera whipped you with a simple whip, I will whip you with scorpions. Mr. Speaker, sir, why should government introduce a levy on money transfer? Money transfer. Why should it be a crime transferring funds even between your own accounts? And most of these funds, Mr. Speaker, would have already suffered various taxes because these funds include salaries, sales proceeds, investments, rental income, and diaspora remittances. It is inconsistent, Mr. Speaker, sir, with the government's agenda of financial inclusion and may impede the efforts of reaching out to the unbanked. In fact, even those who are already banked may think of closing their accounts and resort to keeping their money under their pillows. Mr. Speaker, sir, you may have noticed recently that since the announcement of this levy, most banking halls are always full of customers queuing up to make lump sum withdrawals. It's like there is some sort of run on the banks due to this levy. This levy, Mr. Speaker, sir, is coming on top of other exorbitant bank charges and will likely discourage diaspora remittances at a time when we need the remittances more to fix our forex challenges. This levy is retrogressive, counterproductive, and must be scraped off by this House, Mr. Speaker, sir. Mr. Speaker, sir, we have also seen the Honorable Minister of Finance introduce very strange exercise tax on women's beauty accessories, like wristwatches, perfumes, makeup, necklaces, earrings, bangles, bracelets, and others. Well, why does the Honorable Minister seem to have problems with our women looking good? Mr. Speaker, sir, women's beauty must not be made to be expensive. Looking good must not be punished by taxes. Why does the Honorable Minister seem to be allergic to women's beauty? What crime have women in this country committed against the DPP administration? This tax, Mr. Speaker, sir, is tantamount to violence against women and must be reviewed. Mr. Speaker, sir, the other retrogressive tax proposed in this budget is excise tax on hybrid vehicles. This, Mr. Speaker, sir, does not make sense at all at a time when the country is struggling forex for fuel importation. We all know, Mr. Speaker, sir, that fuel importation eats up a chunk of meager forex reserves. We should therefore not be introducing policies that incentivize importation of hybrid and electric vehicles, and not tax policies that punish their importation. Mr. Speaker, sir, through you, I would also like to let the Honourable Minister know that since the introduction of new pay rates in the last mid-year review, many workers, including civil servants, whose salaries are already relatively low, have had net pay reductions in nominal terms at a time when their income continues to be eroded by the high inflation. This, Mr. Speaker, sir, coupled with the high increase we have had on fuel prices, has made the lives of many workers unbearable. Actually, even some who are driving to Capitol Hill are now walking because they can't afford fuel, and their salaries have nominally been reduced because of the new rates. Freeze on employment and promotions. Mr. Speaker, sir, government has frozen promotions and recruitment, of course, except for teachers and medical personnel, in all the MDAs to contain the wage bill. Interestingly, Mr. Speaker, sir, this even includes parastatals that are not government subvented. We are told there's no money to pay for the new recruits. Mr. Speaker, sir, isn't it ironical that there is no money to recruit our young men and women who are graduating in thousands every year, but there is lots of money for other items like the cancerous CDF at 1.1 trillion. How much does a new recruit get? On average, 500,000. 10,000 of them, Mr. Speaker, sir, in a year would cost about just 60 billion. How much is that compared to these other items? So it's not a question of raising more resources for the moment. That would widen the fiscal deficit. No. It is a matter of apportionment of fiscal resources within the fiscal envelope. It is a matter of prioritizing in resource allocation. This simply means, Mr. Speaker, sir, that the administration does not prioritize the welfare of the youth, which is very concerning. Mr. Speaker, sir, isn't it paradoxical that government says it has introduced free secondary education with the aim of encouraging youth to go to school, and the same government freezes employment in all the MDAs? Of what benefit is school if there are no employment opportunities? Mr. Speaker, sir, currently, and I speak this as former Minister of Labour, currently the unemployment rate, according to the Labour Force Survey recently released by NSO, is at about 20%, which is the highest in the region. And we cannot afford to have policies that further worsen the situation. Employment is not simply for survival, Mr. Speaker, sir. It increases income at household level, creates demand on goods and services, and helps grow the economy. Its multiplier effect, Mr. Speaker, sir, is massive. Corruption. The greatest enemy to this budget, Mr. Speaker, sir, is corruption. Corruption plunders fiscal resources without mercy. It deprives the public of proper services. It benefits the privileged and corrupt few, while impoverishing the rest. With the heavy tax burden imposed on Malawians, most of whom live on less than $1 a day, it is criminal and immoral for the public purse to keep leaking the way it is. Mr. Speaker, sir, the level of corruption reported in the past 6 months alone is unprecedented. It's not that Malawians expected much change from this administration, but what has shocked many, Mr. Speaker, sir, is the fact that the impunity and corruption has manifested too soon. We are talking of 6 months into the term. You see, even in marriage, rarely do partners in marriage show their toxicity in the first 6 months of their marriage. You don't show your true colors in the honeymoon phase of marriage. No, you don't. It even takes much longer for the couple to show their true colors when they have had to come back together after a divorce, as has been the case with the DBP administration and our nation. Take, for example, Mr. Speaker, sir, the Amaris Hotel corruption scandal. Barely 6 months into the term, boom, 98 billion kwacha already gone and shared. And we hear even the remaining balance has also been paid. It's gone. It's already shared as I speak now, Mr. Speaker, sir. And it's appalling, Right Honorable Speaker, how a government doesn't seem bothered with a scandal. A less than 36 billion hotel inflated to 128 billion, with 98 billion gone and the balance already gone, and shared despite the objection from the RBM. And nobody is arrested, Mr. Speaker, sir. Nobody in authority seems to care. While the Minister of Finance, under whom the Public Finance Management Act places custody of all public resources and assets, silently looks away. Mr. Speaker, sir, where is the fiscal police on this matter? Where is the ACB on this scandal? Where is FIA on this matter as well? The indifference, Mr. Speaker, sir, tells Malawians a story. A sad story that some untouchables are involved in this scandal. It didn't have to take social media influencers to blow the whistle and Parliament to undertake an inquiry on the corruption scandal. In fact, we must commend the chair for PAC and the team. They're doing a commendable job. But you are aware, Mr. Speaker, sir, that Parliament, PAC, does not have prosecutorial powers. They don't. We have institutions in government that have those powers. In fact, some of the people that appeared before PAC were supposed to be arrested right there because of what they have done in this scandal. Mr. Speaker, sir, we are, however, Mr. Speaker, sir, heartened by the state president's statement. We are heartened, Mr. Speaker, sir, by what the state president said over the weekend, that he is keenly following the PAC inquiry with keen interest, and that he will take appropriate action. And we pray the president will live up to his weight. Mr. Speaker, sir, time will fail me to talk about the taxpayers' revenue pilferage in the justice sector, including the dubious out-of-court settlements in the midst of justice. The leakage, Mr. Speaker, sir, is too much and must stop. Taxes are a burden to people, and we demand proper stewardship over the taxpayers' money, Mr. Speaker, sir. You see, if government institutions continue to be quiet, there will come a time that Malawians, especially this generation, is going to take the law into their own hands. Because those that we pay so much, including the SB, to do their work, they're doing nothing. And Malawians soon may take the law into their own hands, because they cannot continue, Mr. Speaker, sir, to see their resources being plundered while we have institutions simply watching, Mr. Speaker, sir. Recommendations, Mr. Speaker, sir. We need reforms to ensure food security. One of the challenges that we face as a country is that we know exactly what needs to be done, but we are not politically bold enough to do it. We expected board reforms on such programs as AIP that continue to drain the public purse and widen the fiscal deficit with no tangible results as we continue to have chronic hunger. Something, Mr. Speaker, sir, surely has to be done. Number two, we must restore macroeconomic stability. We commend the efforts that the Honourable Minister is taking on fiscal consolidation and debt restructuring, and we fully support the austerity measures to ensure fiscal discipline. However, more should be done to accelerate growth above 6%. Three, we must fix the forex challenges. One of the promises of the current administration was that they were going to fix the forex challenges. But you are aware, Mr. Speaker, sir, that we are still struggling to access forex. The steps so far taken to address the forex challenges are quite commendable as well, but we think more can be done in incentivizing and diversifying exports through strengthening regulatory framework for trade facilitation. We must also deliberately invest in areas that will reduce dependence on imports. Mining remains a low-hanging fruit, and we could quickly unlock its potential. Forex challenges could soon be history. Number 4, we must continue investing in critical infrastructure that will spur sustainable economic development. We need to fast-track the World Bank-funded Mparamanga hydropower project and the rehabilitation of Nkula and the Gabijira hydropower stations. Mr. Speaker, sir, another critical investment that could be done by way of PPP is the construction of a modern and bigger Kamuzu International Airport. Mr. Speaker, you would recall that for 2 months I was Deputy Minister of Transport and Public Works, and I know the kind Minister of Transport, the Honorable Leader knows that our strategic partner in Malawi Airlines, Ethiopian Airlines, has serious intentions to make here an aviation hub for the region and continental as well as intercontinental flights. This has the potential, Mr. Speaker, sir, to create more employment, generate more forex through airport user fees from airlines and transiting passengers, while taking hospitality industry to another level. The multiplier effect of this investment could be massive. These are the sorts of investments or projects, Mr. Speaker, sir, with high returns that as a country must fast track. Number 5, we need to enhance revenue mobilization through increased efficiency and broadening the tax base and bring money from informal sector into the tax net, as opposed to overtaxing the very same person in the formal sector. Number 6, we must deal with corruption decisively. It is a rob of public resources and an enemy to our socio-economic progress. Number 7, to avoid moving in cycles, as we've done in the past 3 decades, since the advent of multi-party democracy, Mr. Speaker, sir, we need to legislate on fiscal deficit to at most 3% of the GDP in line with the SADC threshold. Fiscal deficits, Mr. Speaker, sir, remain the root of our perennial economic malaise. The appetite for more freebies, like a socialist state, worsens the situation and should be tamed. We must learn to live within our means. Mr. Speaker, sir, for a minute, let me break it down. The economic challenges that this country continues to face is as a result of the fiscal deficit. We want to live beyond our means as a country. Even at household level, if you want to be living beyond your levels of income, you get into debt trap. It is actually our thinking, Mr. Speaker, sir, that we need to legislate on fiscal deficit, because the debt levels that we have now are the same as the levels that we had in the 2000s. Until in 2005, when when multilateral donors, forgave our debt, we were, I think, in 2006, around 20% of our GDP. And then we began to grow. I think I remember in 2007, we grew by about 9%. The subsequent year, 8%, 10%, until we began to accumulate the debt again. And by 2019, it was about 60-something% of the GDP. So, Mr. Speaker, sir, we need to legislate on fiscal deficit, because fiscal deficit remains the root of the challenges that we have as a country. Because the deficits, basically what we are doing by approving deficit budget is we are telling the minister, go and borrow so that we live large, we live beyond our means. And what does borrowing do? Borrowing will actually affect the interest rates, will push inflation. That's what borrowing does, Mr. Speaker, sir. So we need to legislate on this. In conclusion, Mr. Speaker, sir, this budget success will not depend on expenditure allocations, but on whether Malawi can close the external financing gap, stabilize the exchange rate, rebuild forex reserves, contain money supply growth, and reduce inflation sustainably. Without resolving external imbalance, fiscal consolidation alone may not deliver stability. Mr. Speaker, sir, as I conclude, I want to remind the administration that this administration promised to deal with inflation. Today, non-food inflation continues to rise. I remember they used to move around with a bar of Nima soap in the rallies to show to those that attend the rallies. Today, that Nima, Mr. Speaker, is more expensive than it was 6 months ago. Just like other items like fuel. Mr. Speaker, sir, the administration promised to deal with corruption. But 6 months into the term, 98 billion is already gone in broad daylight. and those state institutions are too frozen to act, how much more will be stolen in the next 4.5 years? Simple proportion math, Mr. Speaker, sir, gives me close to $1 trillion that we must expect to be looted in the next 4.5 years. Mr. Speaker, sir, the administration promised to lessen the economic burden on the people. Today, life for many Malawians is much more miserable than it was 6 months ago. Mr. Speaker, sir, allow me to conclude with a proverb, a very common one. Mawa kumali opa, pobeza nthawi nkachani koti. Nthawi nkachitsiru. My Congress party supports this budget. Thank you very much.
I see Deputy Leader. Deputy Leader.
Good afternoon, Honorable Speaker. I rise on a point of correction and a point of order. The Honorable Member who has just resumed his seat was misinforming the nation and disinforming the nation about, and he mentioned in his speech about 98 billion and the Mariris case, the case that is under public inquiry. Would want to say this: one, the matter is under public inquiry, and surely it is not right to bring it on the table in the House. Number two, Malawians should know the masterminder of the Amarellis deal. It is the government of Chakwera. It is Zamba. It is Zamba who masterminded this. And Zamba recruited Kizaso Nyilongo. It is Zamba who recruited Kizaso Nyilongo. And Kizaso Nyilongo went on.
Deputy,
still this man.
Deputy Leader.
Mr. Speaker,
Can I have order, please?
I would want to say this. This side will not.
Deputy Leader, let me say this. Order.
Can I finish?
Order. Can I say something?
Can I finish?
Please sit down.
I will finish.
Deputy Leader, avoid mentioning names of people that are not.
I will withdraw the names, but I should say that this deal started in the previous government of my Congress party. This former. No. I will mention Zamba. I will mention Zamba again. And it is also Nyilango. I will mention. Now, Honorable Speaker, it is not also true that the Minister of Finance does not administer pension funds. He doesn't administer pension funds. Pension funds, the former Minister of Finance is here, he can actually bear testimony. Pension funds are funds that are managed by fund managers. That money is with the banks. When they are paying, that money is not paid by the Minister of Finance. Now, to allege that the Minister of Finance is at the center of this, that is wrong. So, I want to finish like this. Chair Public Accounts, call Chakwera to come and testify. Call Zamba to come and testify. We want to know what happened. Thank you very much. We want to know what
Thank you. Honourable members, please let's take our seats. Leader, let me say one thing before you come in. Honourable members, as I said earlier, the issue of Amarellis Hotel is being handled by our competent committee.
Welcome to MPUNGWE-PUNGWE YouTube channel. Subscribe for you to enjoy more of our videos anytime we upload.